Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to make a storage box for my niece to put all of her storybooks in. So I started off with some scrap wood, and I started off by cutting the 4 support pieces that go into the corners. Okay, so the next thing to do, I had a piece of pine, you can see there, and that came out of a desk, the drawer of a desk. So I wanted to make the wood go around that. It's going to be 3 layers high, and you'll see that in a moment. So I marked it up and cut it all on the miter saw. So now I'm just doing a little, like a dry fit to make sure it's exactly the size that I want it, because I want to recess the bottom of the box. Okay, so now I've got the sizes right. I just needed to cut some more pieces to make 3 levels. And you can see the 4 corners there, and then the 12 pieces, which will make up the 3 levels of the crate. So for the tops, the top 2 sides, I wanted to put handles. So what I did was I marked up the center point and the depth of the handle, and then I used this top to just make some rounded edges. And then I clamped these pieces to the desk and cut out the shape with a jigsaw. So I wanted to put a name on the box, and I wanted to burn it into the box with a branding iron. So I started off by working out exactly where I wanted the letters to go. So I just used a ruler and drew up some lines, and then I wrote out the letters with a pencil. And this would give me a guide to then go in with the branding iron and burn those words into the wood. I also used a few stencils to make some patterns as well. So this was my first time using one of these irons, and it's not too difficult. You just need to take your time with it and be very careful, because they are red hot. So then I just sanded off that piece to remove any of the pencil marks. And then it was time to give all these pieces of wood a good sanding down. Because this box is for a child, I wanted to make sure it was really smooth. So I started off with I think a 60 grit, and then went on to 100 and 120, and I finished up with some wet and dry in the end. This pallet wood was quite rough. I also removed the lacquer that was on that piece of pine, because I was going to put an oil on that later on. So now to recess the base, I placed the first layer of sides around the base, and then I worked out where I was going to screw the screws into the supports, and I left a clearance for the base, as you can see now. And that just means that when it's all together, the base will not be visible. And to screw everything together, I used these little copper coloured screws with very small heads. I think they're 1-inch screws, so they didn't need to be countersunk. They were fine. So now it's time to drill all the pilot holes and get everything nice and square and lined up. And I just took my time here, and I did the spacing by eye. And at this point I just made sure that it was all nice and square. So I screwed one end in and then levelled everything up on the other side. And I knew that all these pieces of wood were the same length. So as long as they were lined up along the edges, they should be pretty much square. And you can see there, just push it nice and tight against the corner to get square. And there I'm just attaching the last piece. And then I attached on the base with a few screws as well. And as you can see, it sits nice and flush inside the box. So these boxes are great for all sorts of storage purposes. And they look quite nice too. Quite retro looking. They look a bit like an old apple crate. I added some extra screws here, just for support on the base. And then I actually used one screw on each piece of wood here and screwed it in to the other piece, just for extra support. So now it's time to give it all a finish. But first, I just went ahead and give it a last sanding down. And then just went over it with the wet and dry paper. I then just gave it all a brushing off to get all that dust off. So now it's time for the finish, and for that I used some boiled linseed oil. I like this because it's quite easy to apply and it dries fairly quickly. So yeah, what I used for that to apply it is a makeup brush, and these have got really fine hairs, and it just makes it really easy to apply it, especially into all the awkward corners. At this stage I would have preferred to have varnished the box to keep it that very pale colour, but I thought varnish would take quite a while to dry, and it's a bit awkward to apply on something like this. The oil is much easier. So the final thing to do was to give it all just a wipe down to remove any excess oil. And that was the box complete, so I was quite pleased with how it turned out. Felt nice and strong, and hopefully my niece will like it for her books. So if you found this video useful, please remember to like and also consider subscribing for more videos. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.